Very quiet.
The Weather Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
As we take a look at the tropics, the Atlantic still fairly quiet. However, there is an area we're going to have to watch very closely in the Caribbean. We'll get to that in a moment. First, the latest on Hurricane Nora, which is not too far away now from the Baja of California in Mexico. We're talking 22 north, 114.3 west, or about 405 miles south of Punta Eugenia in Mexico. That is up here at the top of the screen, so that's what they're referencing now, not Cabo San Lucas. 90-mile-an-hour maximum sustained winds. The hurricane has pretty much been holding its own here late this afternoon into this evening, but the movement is more north-northwest than northwest now, and maybe more of a northerly track will ensue with time, probably in the next 12 to 18 hours. From Punta San Carlos all the way down to halfway between Punta Eugenia and Cabo San Lucas, that's where there are hurricane watches in effect. And under that same area, plus around the tip of the Baja and up into the Gulf of California, there are tropical storm warnings. Already the surf has just been unbelievably rough, anywhere from Cabo San Lucas and actually along the Mexican mainland, where there are still some coastal flood warnings out from Mazatlan down to Punta Estrecho. But boy, the surf up here along the Baja has just been unbelievable. I know a lot of you surfers in California, a lot of folks, they hear hurricanes coming. They either head down to the south-facing beaches here in Southern California. Some even will head down into the Baja. But I got to tell you, this surf is nasty. It is really rough. Just looking at some of the video we had out of Cabo San Lucas, just tremendous swells coming in almost as far as you could see out toward the horizon. It was just a nasty condition, and I wouldn't doubt that some of these swells are going to make their way on up into Southern California. The south-facing beaches may get some higher swells once again. There is the hurricane, Cabo San Lucas, right here where I'm pointing. This is the Baja. I know it's tough to see underneath the cloud cover here, but again, the eye pretty well defined. Convection wrapping around the south side and the east side. It had wrapped all the way around earlier. Now it seems to be wrapping around again, but it kind of comes and goes, so it's not a real well-organized hurricane. 90 miles an hour, that's a Category 1 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. However, it's holding its own, and we think that it probably will do so for at least the next 12 to maybe 18, even 24 hours as it heads toward the coast. Water temperatures here marginally warm to sustain this kind of a hurricane. But again, the winds aren't going to be the big problem. The waves are the problems now. A little bit of wind when it comes on shore, but it'll be the rain eventually, which may be a big problem for the southwest. Watch out Arizona, watch out extreme southeast desert areas of California, Blythe, Imperial, Yuma, Arizona, on up toward Kingman, that vicinity, Lake Havasu City. Watch out as this hurricane gets pulled to the north by a trough. You can see a little bit of a bend in our water vapor imagery here. That's a low that's developing here, and again ahead of it, winds coming up from the south pulling the hurricane north. What about
the Weather Channel? No place on Earth has better weather.
Thank you for joining us on the Weather Channel 10 minutes before the hour. Time to get the very latest on the tropics. Of course, we've been talking about Nora in the East Pacific. The hurricane is now centered as of the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center at 22.9 degrees north. That's the latitude. 114.7 west longitude. That makes it about 340 miles south of Punta Eugenia, Mexico, with winds of 85 miles an hour. It's moving north-northwest at 13, and the lowest estimated central pressure, 979 millibars. So it's quite a ways away from the coastal areas of Mexico, the Baja Peninsula, but we will perhaps watch it approach the coast as we go through the next 24 hours, and all of that moisture will eventually spread into Arizona and Southern California. Now, tropical storm warnings have been issued for the southern tip here of Baja California, and a hurricane watch for much of the area too, extending northward to Punta San Carlos. And you can see too, coastal flood warnings still in effect along the immediate coast here of Mexico. Even though the center of our hurricane is right about here, we still have those large waves battering up against the coast of Mexico, and that's why coastal flooding could still be a problem as we go through the next 12 hours. Let's show you the satellite picture, which identifies very clearly, of course, our hurricane. Yesterday, we did notice that some deep convection associated with it was wrapping all around the center, and that indicated a very organized and developing hurricane, of course. But we have noticed that perhaps this morning it has started to weaken a little bit, and this weakening trend we are expecting to continue as we go through the next 24 hours. But all of its tropical moisture will still be left with this system as it moves closer to the Baja Peninsula of California, and then that tropical moisture will feed even farther northward into Arizona and southern California. This is our latest water vapor loop. Please disregard this last frame, which kind of cuts off some of the picture here, but you can still see the center of the storm right here. And we've been watching this trough of low pressure just off the coast of California, and we think it'll be perhaps these this long wave pattern or the upper air steering currents to kind of pull the system north and then eventually east as all of its moisture again works into the southern parts of Arizona. Now we have a crew that is on the way to southern Arizona this morning, and we'll be giving you live reports from the area starting tonight as we watch our hurricane get closer to the Baja Peninsula of California, and again all of its tropical moisture feeding into the southwest, creating, we're sure, some flooding problems. The eastern
Weather Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
Okay, it's time for our tropical update, and of course the big story as tension rises in the southwest is Nora. 8 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time from the Hurricane Center. The center of circulation at 23.5 north, 114.7 west. That puts it about 295 miles south of Punta Eugenia, Mexico. Winds 85 miles an hour, movement northerly at 10, so that has not changed throughout the morning hours. Estimated pressure 976 millibars. So here is the center of Nora. Here's where you find your hurricane winds extend about 85 miles or so from the center of circulation. Tropical storm force winds extend out about 200 miles or so from the center. And the government of Mexico has issued a plethora of watches and warnings. Tropical storm watches from Tijuana to Punta Santo Tomas. And then south of here, we have hurricane warnings down to Bahia Balenas. And then south of here, down to 24 degrees north, we have tropical storm warnings, and continue that up the east side of the Baja, up to Santa Rosalia. And then from Santa Rosalia up here to the northwest corner of the Gulf of California, that's where we have hurricane warnings. And then we have hurricane watches on the northwest Mexico coast down to Bahia Quino. So that is the way it stands right now in the way of warnings and watches. And we still have very rough seas, and from Mazatlan down to Punta Estrecho, we have coastal flood warnings remaining in effect. Satellite picture shows you the slow movement of Nora, now moving due north. Here's Southern California, here's Arizona, and you can see quite a supply of moisture surging right up through the Gulf of California. Let's go to the radar, and what do we see? We see rain on our radars south of the border here. Here's Arizona. Here's California. Here's the northern tip of the Gulf of California. And here we can see the rain as the moisture surges up. And look what's happened here.